Today we're talking about how you can plan effectively for an in-person and digital experience this Easter. Are you ready? Because it's time.
Holy nuclear time bombs! Holy overeating! Holy roller coasters!
It's time!
It's time.
It's time for the Lion Sidekick Podcast!
Hello, heroes. This is Tom Pounder, and welcome to the YM Sidekick Podcast. This is the podcast where we talk about digital tools and trends that are happening around the world with ministry leaders and how we can apply them into our specific context. And today I'm really excited to have Ben Stapley back on. Ben is the weekend experience guy at Christ Fellowship in Miami, Florida, a very warm location as he shares with us in the interview. But what we talk about today is not what the weather is like in Miami, Florida, but how we can be properly preparing for an online and an in-person experience this coming Easter. Easter is right around the corner, as he points out. It's right around the corner, and if you haven't started planning now, we need to start planning and getting the ball rolling. So we go over how you can make this experience wonderful, both online and in person this Easter. What are you going to do? Let's find out in today's interview with Ben Stapley. All right, with me right now is Ben Stapley. Ben, how are you?
I'm doing incredible down here in sunny Miami, Florida. Not to rub it in, but it is gorgeous. Having a blast. I think I'm going to go outside and do some tanning right after this podcast with you.
Stop. I mean, can you guys still tan right now?
Well, I have English blood in me, so I don't tan very easily. But most people, when they come down here at this season, would crisp right up. So yes, you can tan down here right now.
Yeah, see, it's about 33 degrees right now, and we just had snow earlier today, and so yeah, I am a little jealous by that. So, well, Ben, again, you've been on the podcast before, and so you're not a stranger, especially if you're involved with the online community. You know and have heard of Ben, but if someone has not heard of you, briefly describe what you do and whatnot.
Yeah, so my full-time job, I have the pleasure of serving on the executive team at Christ Fellowship Miami. We have 7 campuses locally and then 10 internationally. Our pre-COVID, you always have to give your pre-COVID numbers. My pre-COVID numbers is we had about 8,000 guests on a weekend. And so as the weekend experience director, that's a fancy title. What does that mean? I got a chance to oversee the experience from the streets to the seats, and then most importantly, to the screens, right? How do we leverage those other hours in the week, and how do we take that service, that experience, 1 hour service, and extrapolate it over the course of the week and continue to make followers of Christ? So that's my passion. That's what I get a chance to oversee. Been doing it down here for 3 years and loving it. In addition to that, I get a chance to coach and consult with churches on the side as well.
Yeah, you have a fantastic website. Hey, tell everyone your website real quick, and then we'll talk about it later too.
Well, I'm going to push them towards this. We're talking about Easter, spoilers. It's coming up, 60 days left. And so if you want to not just check out the website, check out how I can help you plan Easter. Go to, get this, planeaster.com. And that's where you can find out information about me and how I can help you take the next steps as again, 60 days left as you're trying to plan Easter this year.
Yeah, it's you're a great resource. I love all the content you have, and again, I'll ask you to share at the end all your information so people can connect with you if they haven't already. But you're awesome. Okay, so let's get into Easter. We live in a completely different world than we did last year. When we were planning Easter last year, we were planning for primarily in person, and then it got squashed where many of us couldn't even meet in person. We had to meet all online. In fact, that's where my church was. We met all online, and it was just this weird, surreal feeling of Easter last year in 2020. But now we've learned a lot. We've done a lot.
Hopefully.
Yes, hopefully. That's right. That is true. So as we're getting ready for Easter, you said 60 days away. That's not a lot of time. That's basically less than 2 months away. So where are we at, and what should we be thinking about as we're planning right now for Easter?
So not to shame people, but if you haven't started yet, stop the podcast now and start planning would be the first thing. And the second, you already addressed it, right? So the first year we kind of had a bit of an excuse that we're figuring out Easter online for a lot of churches. We're a year into this. We no longer have an excuse to put our worst foot forward. We have the opportunity to put our best foot forward in person, but more importantly, online, because that's where you're going to have a bigger reach. So think that through. make sure as you're planning your Easter service, you're not just thinking about the in-person experience, but you're thinking about the online. And then in terms of like big picture vision stuff, I always encourage churches to do two things. First of all, make sure there's a clear action step. You're going to have a lot of first-time guests with you. It's probably the service that attracts the most first-time guests over the course of the year, before Mother's Day and before Christmas. So have a clear action step and a follow-up plan with those first-time guests. And then also, this is for the creatives, have another series that you're pushing and you're promoting. So oftentimes when we plan our holiday services, we plan them and we put all our effort there, right? And then the teams are spent. And then it's like, what's happening next week? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have the energy. I don't care what's happening next week. I was doing 70-hour weeks to pull off Easter.
Yeah.
And so for our guest who comes to Easter, that's great. And then we say, come back next week for something. We're not sure what it is. And our salesmanship on that callback series is usually pretty low. So whatever effort you're taking towards Easter, make sure you take some of that effort and throw it towards your callback series or your callback message. What are you calling people back to? And what is something that's going to be very informative and relevant for people who are far from Christ? How are you connecting with them afterwards as well?
Yeah, I like that a lot. We actually do that for Easter. We do this very well at my church. We bring in a guest speaker a lot of times for the very next week. And there have been times when our guest speaker has attracted more people to our services than Easter has. And that's been really kind of cool to see. But then we have that drop off. I like what you say. What are you inviting them back to? And does it have to be a church service, or could it be something else that you can invite them back to?
Tom, I love talking to you because you always expand my horizons and help me think outside the box. Of course, like they don't need to come back to a service, right? And that's the paradigm. Hopefully, we broke a little bit this past year. That we don't just have one opportunity during a week to make disciples. So yeah, what could it be? The thing I would really say is just make sure you hit the felt needs. Meet people where they're at. I've seen a lot of churches do a series on anxiety, or even small groups based upon that. We're losing our jobs. We're losing our health. We're losing our sanity, to be frank. I've been staring at the screen 24/7. I'm getting bug-eyed. And so that would be like really, so maybe it's not a series you're calling people back. Maybe it's saying, hey, you're here, and maybe you're just barely holding it together. And if you are, we got a small group focused in on anxiety and how we tackle that from a biblical perspective. It's online. We'd love for you to sign up now. Man, sign me up. I'll come to your church if you do that, Tom. Sign me up for that.
That's really cool. I like that. That is a great idea on that. When you're talking about connection in like when you're talking about a connection and a follow-up, is there a good way to do that? Is like a digital connection card? Is that something that you would do? And like, what's the best way to kind of gather information and follow up with people?
I thought you had all the silver bullets. Come on, you actually. So this has been the bane of churches the bane of our existence for the past year, right? In the past, I could shove a physical connection card into their hand in a bulletin as they came in. I would put it in the seat in front of them. As they walked out, I'd put it under the window wiper in the car, just to make sure they got it. So we had a lot of different ways to shove a physical connection card in their hands. We've lost that, but you can do that digitally as well. Obviously, push people towards your URL. I personally like pushing people towards a text option because we all know how to use that very quickly. And as long as you give them something very memorable, we've camped on the number 313131. I don't know why we picked it, but it's fun. Like we'll say in our services, and if you'd like to give towards the ministry of Christ Fellowship, just type in give to, and the host holds out the mic and everyone says 31 31 31. So like it's a mantra of ours now, and you have to be living under a rock not to know how to get connected at Christ Fellowship. So a text service is super helpful. Have fun with it, but don't just rely on the physical, because nobody wants to pick up your physical things right now. And actually, I've seen a lot. I'm sure you've seen this as well. We've done this as well. A lot of churches will put they'll take that QR code that links towards that, and they'll print it and put it on the seats, the pews, whatever you have in front of people. And so you could even do that. Just pick up your phone and we scan that. So we tell people 2 action steps: text it, or if you're lazy, take a photo of the QR code in front of you. There's no excuse not to get connected.
It seems like QR codes have had a rebirth of sorts, right?
Is there stock we can get in on that? I missed the GameStop one, so maybe we can get in the QR code.
Yeah, right. It is really interesting. We started using a little bit of QR codes as well in our church, and it's been really kind of a cool thing, and it's super easy. So
Yes, that and Zoom. They were the winner. That Zoom and the word pivot were the winners of 2020.
we're pivot. That's so true. That's so true. Okay, so you're starting to plan. You're talking about next steps and what to bring them back for. What else should we be thinking about in regards to Easter?
So I'm going to give you a whole bunch of digital next steps. And actually, the first one I'm going to give you is a physical one.
Okay.
So it's the photo booth, low hanging fruit, right? Everyone gets dressed up in their Sunday best. Mom has pulled everyone to church and they're looking half decent. Well, they're looking good. They want to take a photo, give them an environment to do that, put up a fern and a bench. Really easy to pull that off. And it does two things. First of all, it gives them something that is valuable to them. It gives them a chance to take that family photo while they're still looking good and before the kids go running home and tear out of their clothes.
Yeah.
So it's a value. You always want to give value to people. And then second of all, it's a value to you as an organization because you know what they're going to do? They're going to post that. And if you had your church branding behind it, it's free advertisement. So leverage a photo, you leverage the physical, which engages people digitally as they post it on social would be the first thing I'd say. And then another really big digital step is a landing page. So whatever your church website is, it needs to have a /Easter. So as people intuitively type it in, they can find it. And then it's just one page that has all the information for your Easter services. I'm sure there's other ways you're going to direct people towards it. You're going to have an image on the homepage that directs there. Maybe it's in your drop-down menu as well. But make sure I've seen some churches where they just Easter 2019 best experience yet. I'm like, man, I'm not going to remember that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to remember your URL /Easter. Again, make it easy for your people.
Yeah, that is really cool. Okay, so let's talk about this photo booth real quick because I think some of the barriers I think in my head when I'm thinking of photo booth is I got to buy a nice backdrop, I got to spend all this money. But what you're saying is keep it simple. You can get plants, you can get a bench. These are all things that you guys have really easy right around your facility, or people can bring them in. So wouldn't it be a high cost expenditure, right?
No, it's very, very low cost. And you may even have some of that furniture on site at your church already. It's just like grabbing that and repositioning it. And so, hey, we got the bench in the foyer. Can we grab it from that Sunday and move it to where we're going to take a photo of it? And we got some plants. Can we gather them? So even just utilizing your current resources. I would say this, if you do have, I'm sure somebody in your church does, because I think we all bought them, a ring light, right?
Yeah.
When you get older like me, you got to use whatever tools you can to make yourself look decent.
Yeah,
right. So grab that ring light.
Yep.
And take it to your church and throw it up there because it'll make people look decent as well. And you got to get rid of the crow's feet somehow, Tom. That's how I do it.
Yeah, well, no, listen, I like it. The reason why I don't use my ring light as much anymore is because when I do it, it reflects on my glasses.
Or you have to wear the glasses at this weird angle.
Yes.
Like you have to
Yeah, it's so weird. And so I try to actually put a cover on my ring light now and everything like that. But ring lights are super cheap too. I mean, they're not that expensive.
$50 and it goes again, and it's beyond making value, it's perceived value, right? So when I go with my family to step up, oh wow, like they really thought about me. They put the bench, they put the fern, and they put the $50 ring light. Thank you, XYZ Church. I may come back and visit you guys again next week.
Yeah, that's awesome. What about hashtags? Are hashtags still valuable?
Well, if QR codes are still valuable, hashtags are still valuable. So yeah, and I would say they're they have a lot of different values. In terms of your Easter experience, I would try to create a hashtag for your people that they can leverage where you can post a photo and you can see other people posting it as well. Now, the trick is finding one that isn't already squatted on by another church. And so for us, we're down here in Miami, and then we're Christ Fellowship Miami, and then there's Christ Fellowship West Palm, and with Todd Mullins, and they're probably like twice the size of us, maybe 3 times the size of us. Anyways, they've been not sitting on, you can't sit on a hashtag, anyone can use it. They've been leveraging the hashtag Easter at CF for years. And so if you type it in, they pop up. So we ain't competing with them. They got it. God bless. Yeah. So we're using Easter with CF. It's not as easy, but before you choose your hashtag, just make sure there isn't a bigger church around the corner that's using it. And then your hashtag is going to get lost in the sea of their photos. So that would be helpful to leverage it, and then obviously pick one that is short, memorable, and hopefully no one else is over leveraging right now.
Yeah, see, I'm glad you struggle with the Christ, like the same name for a different church, because my church is New Life Christian Church, and there are so many New Life churches out there in the world. It is unbelievable. So it's like trying to find a hashtag, trying to like we get tagged on random things sometimes. It's like, what is going on here? So it's very different, very unique.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever used a Snapchat geo filter?
We haven't used that. We haven't leveraged Snapchat a lot. We've leveraged a lot of GIFs on Instagram.
Oh, cool.
I don't want to get into a contentious argument. Is it GIF or GIF? But we've used the GIF, however you pronounce it, a lot. And we found that helpful with the target audience that we're trying to hit. For us, it's like a 35-year-old professional guy with a family.
Okay.
And so that's what platform he's going to predominantly use. And let's give him the gifts to use, and or probably a spouse to use,
Yeah.
a lot. And so we use that. We found that to be super helpful. But you guys have found that on Snapchat. You have I presume a younger audience, or trying to reach a younger audience, and therefore are on Snapchat and leveraging those geo filters.
Well, here's the deal. We are not on Snapchat, but we are utilizing geo filters, because you can create a geo filter for a period of time for a relatively cheap amount of space. And we figured we could use that as a way for them. Someone, if they're going to take a snap while at church, they can just add in one of the filters in that location. And then again, it spreads the word about our church, New Life Christian Church, and that they had Easter here. And maybe somebody will think, oh yeah, I've heard about this church because I saw it on Snapchat or something like that. So we're not active on the platform, but we do utilize the geo filters for special events. So
we also use the Facebook, the branded Facebook frames for our boomers who are still on Facebook. It's helpful to meet them where they're at. And so that's another touch that we do every holiday series. We make one of those and people can update their profile photo accordingly.
That's really cool. Well, something I've seen you back to the GIFs or GIFs or whatever you want to call it. I actually saw you posted about this recently. You can use Venmo. You can create GIFs from Venmo too, from your.
From not Venmo, but if you want to Venmo me money, I won't stop you.
Venmo, Vimeo. I mean, yeah.
Vimeo, yeah.
Oh gosh.
And I think this is hot off the press. I think they announced this press release on January 28th, so it's pretty new. But so if you're using, let me explain things. If you're using Venmo, it's a great way to archive and showcase your video content. Think YouTube, but without all the ads. Right. And so it's super helpful I like it for a church, because if I'm driving people there, I don't need to worry about the supported and promoted content beside it or embedded into my content. And so I really like that as a archiving and a presentation platform. YouTube is still great to be on. I'm not dismissing it. Second highest rate search engine out there. Be on there as well. But I'm saying consider Vimeo as you're trying to archive and showcase your content on your website. So anyways, that's Vimeo. What they've done is you can take within the video, a click of a button. I sound like a salesman. With a click of a button, Tom, you can take a portion of your video and make a GIF out of it. I'll give you the link later on, but and then you can use that. I found those super helpful. So people are like, so what do I do with this GIF? I like it in terms of embedding that in my email newsletter, because a nice looking photo thumbnail looks good, right? It's gonna increase the open rate of that video instead of just like watch video here in text. So like text is the worst. Thumbnail is good, but a GIF where it's you and I doing one of these continually. Wow, what that looks silly. I'm intrigued. I will click on that. So it's easy to do, and then the benefit is why do all this? Increases your open rate for whatever video content you're pushing to people towards. Obviously, it's fun. You can just have fun with it. But if it's already within the video, leverage it to push people to the video wherever you post that and embed that experience.
That's awesome. Yeah, that is very cool. I like it, because I was thinking like, okay, this is a cool idea. How can I use this? And you just gave me a perfect opportunity to use it, especially as you're emailing people about Easter or some things coming up. Okay, talk to me some more. What else would you suggest as we're planning through it? What should we be thinking, either digitally or in person? What would we think?
So we've talked a lot about what the organization can do to get the word out. I'm a big proponent of empowerment. How can not we as an organization get this out, as a church, spread the word? How can we empower our people to be digital evangelists and to spread the word. The fact that they found new life in God, and that their spiritual journey has been robust through our church, and they want someone to come alongside and to share that with them. So for us, we give a lot of digital invites. If you go, as an example, cfmiami.org/share, if you go there right now, every new series, we put something out there. We have a campus reopening. We have that up there as well. Easter, we have that up there, but we have a lot of shareable content that we encourage our congregation continually. Go there, get that, and then post it and use it to invite a friend or a family member or coworker to join you this coming weekend.
Okay, so when I heard you talk about this a while back with Jeff and Ray, you did a great podcast with them talking about this stuff, and you said that. I immediately went to my communications director and said, we need to do this because that is an amazing idea. Because I forget what the word you just used to describe it, but digital evangelists. I call them digital missionaries, and
Nice.
same thing. But the way to empower them is to have that share page, and I'm like, that is such a simple yet powerful tool that we can have to encourage people to share digitally.
And here's the thing, you've already made the resources as a church, right? So just give another avenue for people to access it, low hanging fruit. And then it empowers them to be the church, which
Yeah.
is great.
I love it. That thing it's such a great idea, and it's a simple thing that people can incorporate, especially as you're getting close to Easter. But you say you're using it all year long. It keeps them in the mode, the same. What can I share to other people, and whatnot. So, are you meeting in person? Is your church meeting in person right now, or are you guys shut down completely?
Yeah, so we reopened back in October.
Okay.
We were actually looking back in August, but then things got a little sketchy here in Florida, so we said let's pump the brakes. And then things cleared up enough where we felt comfortable reopening with safe, sanitized, and spacious services. So it's not the wild, wild west. Everyone's still mandatory to wear masks, 6 feet of social distancing, and we're cleaning off high touch points in between services. So that's happening. We've done that since our reopening. It's funny. I was just talking through our staff about our in-person attendance numbers, and it kind of plateaued from October to December. Those 3 months, it was pretty much the same. And this past month, the encouraging news this past month was that we've seen about a 15% increase over this past month. Now, that's part of that. It's probably it's a new year. I got to go back I got to get my body in shape. I didn't get my soul in shape. I'm going to come back to church. But we're celebrating that and looking to build upon that as the year progresses as well. That being said, we only have about 40% of our congregation back from pre-COVID numbers at our physical sites.
Okay.
And again, I always clarify at our physical sites, because a lot of them are still online and engaging and growing online, and we want to celebrate that. The only win for us isn't let's get them all back, but no, how do we engage them wherever they're at?
That's a great thing that you just said there, because our churches, we're about 25 to 30% now, but I've been hearing a lot of churches in that 20% range, 20 to 30% range. And so then the tendency would be to think, okay, we have to shift all our focus on in person again. And that's the thing you have to fight, because we've made so much progress digitally. So as you're continuing to process digitally and balancing the in person and digital, is there anything that you're offering for Easter in person that would be special, that maybe entice them to come to in person? Or are you guys just really content with where you're at right now?
It's funny. It's a great question. We're actually looking at it from the other side of the coin. So we're saying, what can we do that's a wow moment online? So in person, I think we're going to get people there. But what do we do differently and unique? Because it's our largest campus. It has about I think about like 4 times the attendance there, in contrast to all of our physical campuses. And so if there's a wow moment, it's not in person, it's online for us. That's where we're pushing in ships and trying to cash them in.
That's great.
So we're flying to Jerusalem. If you want to come with us, we're going to film there. It's going to be awesome. We're in the Temple of Mount.
That is awesome. Do you do anything differently in your digital experience than you do in person? Like, do you break away to online chat host or anything like that during the service?
Yeah. So I'm joking about it, and like flying off to Jerusalem and filming something there. And I've seen churches do that, which is great. I'm not trying to besmirch that. We don't have that budget to do that right now. But we do try to do things that are unique and leverage other environments that aren't just your stage. And so like for us, we've been brainstorming already. And what's something that's cheap and easy for us? And so like, it's the lily is considered like, an Easter flower. Wouldn't it be awesome if whoever's communicating, or even if it's just our host, they were in a floral shop? First of all, it's going to look pretty. And then second of all, it changes the scenery. So it's something different where I'm engaged.
Yeah.
And then third of all, they could leverage that environment to proclaim the gospel in a unique way and talk about the importance of the lily and why we reference that and associate that with Easter. Oh, that would be really interesting. We thought about doing this for a communion service. Wow, wouldn't it be cool if we did it in a bakery? And we had like fresh, bread in the background. You had like that fire oven roaster going on behind you. Wouldn't that be a very visual experience that tied to your content? So as much as you can do that, tie your content to your visuals, it's much better than having some bookshelf behind you.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I love it. I love the different ideas. And again, part of the reason why I like talking with you is you guys have so many great ideas and so many great thoughts. Talk to me real quick about your chat hosts. Are you doing anything differently in preparation for Easter, talking with your chat hosts in particular?
Great. So there's the whole, I was going back with some people this past week. Do you push people to the live experience or on demand? Obviously the answer is both.
Yeah.
That being said, live has a special place in my heart because I have served as a chat host in the past, and I know what it looks like to when the preacher says join a small group, and I can give that small group link right there, and I can see people signing up real time because if I empowered them with the URL, there's just a real time tangibleness. On demand is great in relationship for convenience. Live is great in terms of community. And so it's a great way to foster that. So to answer your question, coming back to it, I will come back to it, Tom, I promise. I would double up your chat hosts. So whatever you normally do, double them up for that weekend because you never have a first time, never have second chance to make a first an impression. So in terms of that impression, worst case, you don't want someone going to your live experience with chat hosts and there's just a digital tumbleweed blowing across, and there's nobody there, and it's crickets. You're like, hello, is anybody here? That's bad. So having whatever your chat host is, double it up, and so they can engage with each other, foster conversation that invites people to participate with it. So double them up and prepare them as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is great. On those big services in particular, it's always great to have more so that you can keep everyone safe, engaging, and keeping the conversation going along. Okay, so I've hit you all over the different parts of about Easter. What is it that I haven't asked you that you would like to share about Easter as people are preparing to get ready? Again, 60 days away.
So one of the things an adage I like to park on is don't forget the last P. So oftentimes we do a great job of planning. That's what we're talking about right now. Hey, how do we do this? And then we're going to roll out the promotion, and then let's spread the word. But oftentimes as we forget the last P, prayer. How do we pray for this as well? So we can have the best strategy, the best plan, the best marketing, the best promotion. But at the end of the day, if God is going to do a supernatural work in the lives of the people coming to your church, you need to be in front of him in prayer and ask for that. And he will give generously. So don't forget that last P. Don't forget to pray. And don't forget to acknowledge that he is the one who's going to be transforming lives this holiday service. And not because of the fact that you're recording in a nice bakery or flower shop.
Dude, that is such a great reminder and an important one, because I remember we have a connection with a church in India, and this was years ago. This was probably 6-7 years ago. They came over to visit us, this church, and see what was happening, and they visited a few other churches around the East Coast. And as they were leaving, our pastor asked them, they're like, what is it that you've learned, and what is it that you've gotten out of this trip? And they said, not the exact phrase, but basically, it's amazing what you guys can do without prayer.
Ooh, I knew you were going to go there.
Yeah, it's in the fact that we don't pray nearly enough, and we rely so much on us and not on God and his supernatural power. And so I'm glad you said that. That's a fantastic word on that.
What an indictment of the North American church. But hey, we always have a chance to turn and come back to him. So may we do that this Easter.
That's true. Well, Ben, man, you are awesome. You are such a great resource. You're great to talk to. And I love seeing all the stuff you're doing. as we wrap up, just share with people where they can connect with you, social wise, web stuff wise. You already talked about planeaster.com, and I'll have that in the show notes. But how else can they connect with you?
Yeah, social, Ben Stapley. I think I'm on all of them other than the Snap. I'm not. I haven't made the jump to TikTok yet. Maybe that's another conversation, Tom, and you can convince me accordingly. I have not. I have not done Clubhouses either. I feel so ancient at this point. What? Um, but connect with me there. And then the other thing too is if you go to planeaster.com, you'll see a free resource for Easter, of additional resources of how to plan Easter online. I kind of scoured the interwebs and found the best free resource. So I've compiled them all at one place. You don't have to give your email address. You don't have to sign up for anything. It's just a free downloadable PDF with links from some other incredible all-stars in the online space. So if you're looking to grow beyond this conversation, check out that resource, download it, learn from other people.
That's awesome. And I'll include all your social accounts on the show notes so people can just easily click that, as well as the Plan Easter. They'll just be able to click that. So that's great. Well, Ben, as always, it's great having you on. So thanks so much for being with me today.
Of course.
All right, so there you have it, my conversation with Ben. It is great having him on because even though he's the weekend experience director where he has to look at online and in-person together, he has an online background. He's been involved with online church for a number of years, and he's someone who's got a ton of great content. So if you are not following him, definitely click on the social channels that I got on the show notes and his website and the planeaster.com, because that's just tons of great resources that he's given away and that you can get and be encouraged for, not just for Easter, but for many other events and church activity down the road. But I would love to hear from you. What do you think? What stood out to you about this conversation? What was something good? What is something we missed maybe? I would love to hear from you on this. So definitely hit me up on Twitter. I'm at TA Pounder. That's my Twitter handle. You can hit me up there. I'd love to continue that conversation. Or you can even email me, tom@ymsidekick.com. All right, heroes. Well, thanks so much for joining me. As always, you can go to ymsidekick.com for all my content, but you can also subscribe to this directly on Spotify or on iTunes. I've got these coming out every other week. The every other week that I do that Digital in 5 show. Again, you can find that at ymsidekick.com. And also information about the Digital Bootcamp Facebook group. It's a group where all ministers come to get some digital tools and trends and learn about it together. And we share and encourage each other as we learn how to do ministry in this very phygital world that we're living in today. So I hope you're able to do that. All right, heroes. Well, again, thanks so much for joining me. And until next time, have a great one.